And I stood and watched, and from around behind a big tree there was a black deal looking at me, and it had a peaked, pointed head. He swung my arm in a big arc, and I said, I yelled out, "Hi, Sasquatch, come on down."
Datus Perry, a resident of Carson, Washington. Carson being a small, historic town along the Columbia Gorge, which divides Oregon and Washington states, in the heart of the Cascade Mountain Range, which runs from California to Canada. Datus was Carson's resident Bigfoot expert until his passing in 1998. Datus Perry had spent most of his life near nature as a logger, engineer, and rancher in Skamania County, Washington, Bigfoot country. Due to his closeness to nature and his peaceful disposition, Perry had a unique opportunity to gather information about the life of the Sasquatch. In addition to his many sightings, the 84-year-old Perry pieced together his own theories about the biology, physiology, eating habits, and general behavior of the creature. Robert Pyle, author of Where Bigfoot Walks, Crossing the Dark Divide, described Datus Perry like this: a white-bearded old-timer with wild eyes and a jack-o'-lantern grin. One person who has no lack of vision is Datus Perry, the resident Bigfoot guru of Carson, Washington. A skinny Santa in olive drab and flannel, Perry hangs out in the canyons above the Columbia River, where he spots Sasquatch almost at will. In 1937, he claimed he saw one in full view at 200 feet on the Observation Peak Trail. In 1963, a Bigfoot followed him down from the saddle south of Gifford Peak, and he saw it well from 20 feet. Since then, he has seen them from Panther Creek to the Quasnet River in British Columbia, in every aspect, from senning to soliciting his favors. Anywhere else, Datus Perry might be considered merely an eccentric or worse, but around Carson, he is certainly seen that way, yet he is also revered as something of a Bigfoot expert. In the book Paranormal America, Ghost Encounters, UFO Sightings, Bigfoot Hunts, and Other Curiosities in Religion and Culture, Christopher Bader says this in Chapter 8. More than 20 years ago, Christopher found himself in the passenger seat of a decrepit, rusted van as it hurtled through the woods near the town of Carson in Washington state. The driver did his best to avoid trees, boulders, ditches, and other obstacles as he navigated toward a small hunting cabin deep in the woods. Wiping mud from my eyes, I looked down at my feet, only to realize that part of the rusted floorboard had given way. I spent the remainder of the terrifying ride balancing my feet on the rough edges. Each time the van sped through a puddle, dirty water shot through the hole. Eventually, the van came to a lurching stop at the bottom of a hill, and the driver, Datus Perry, stepped out. Datus was a spry, sometimes cranky, 76-year-old Bigfoot witness. On this day, he wore a green winter jacket and corduroy pants that were patched in places with duct tape. Thick boots protected his feet from the mud, and a safari hat rested atop a thick mound of snowy white hair. A long white beard completed the picture of a backwoods eccentric. A large patch on his jacket reading Sasquatch Country provided a clue to his particular interest. Datus parted the brush to reveal an overgrown path heading up a hill, and we hustled away. I struggled to keep pace with a man 3 times my age. At frequent intervals, Datus stopped to scan the nearby ridges. Suddenly, he grunted and moved off the path. Standing near a large evergreen tree, he peered into the distance. Determined not to miss a potential Bigfoot sighting, I ran to his side. When I realized that Datus was urinating on the tree, I retreated to the trail, embarrassed. He snorted, giggled, zipped his fly, and resumed the hike. A few weeks earlier, while cleaning the old cabin, Datus had spotted a 9-foot-tall black shape in a stand of trees about 150 feet away. Assuming this shape to be a curious Bigfoot, he waved and said, "Come on down, Sasquatch!" As the creature remained motionless, Datus questioned its motives. Perhaps it was female, he thought, and he did not know how sexy she might want to get. He decided to ignore the beast and went back to work, as the creature continued to stand motionless in the distance. The stalemate continued until evening, when he lost sight of it in the enveloping darkness. Datus was somewhat unique among Bigfoot witnesses in that he claimed at least a dozen Bigfoot sightings and believed that he knew how the creature thinks. When I arrived at Perry's home earlier that morning, he proudly retrieved from his garage a large cardboard cutout he'd made of Bigfoot. Standing at least 7 feet tall and in the shape of a large man, the cutout was topped by a sharply triangular head. That's how you know when someone is hoaxing a Bigfoot sighting, Datus told me, because it has a sharp sagittal crest. If someone says Bigfoot doesn't have a pointy head, they're a hoaxer. This was only one of several beliefs Datus held that proved controversial in Bigfoot circles. Bigfoot has been reported in a number of different hair colors, various shades of brown or black. Even the occasional reddish and gray-colored Bigfoot have been seen. Bigfoot only comes in black, Datus reported. All other colors people have seen are the result of the creature wearing coats made of animal skins. It's also common knowledge among Bigfoot enthusiasts that the creature has a powerful smell. Nonsense, said Datus. If Bigfoot smells, it's because of rotten meat on the animal hides that it wears, or maybe Bigfoot is farting. Earlier in the day, I'd sat in Datus' living room as he packed his van for our trip to the cabin. In one corner of the room sat an easel with a large tablet upon it. I paged through it while waiting for Datus and found the easel filled with sketches of Bigfoot, each one captioned with the creature's thoughts. On one page was a crude drawing of the head and shoulders of an ape-like creature with an astonishingly pointy head and black fur, a grimace on its face. An assortment of captions surrounding the face. You won't find any bigger than I am. I am 11 feet tall. I was here first. I am real. I don't want to be bothered. Don't pick on me, little man. Let me eat your pig or your dog. I am black and very dark. I will see you first, and I'll watch you from a bush. Throw me a fish. On the next page was a full-body sketch of a Sasquatch with "I am always looking for something to eat" written sideways down the page. A profile of Bigfoot's face on the next page was titled, "I am not the missing link." On the bottom of the page was Datus' attempt to spell out the way Bigfoot yells, "Yee-tee-tee!" When we finally reached the ramshackle cabin after our perilous van ride, we found 3 moss-covered walls and a collapsed door about the size of a storage unit. Datus told me about his many sightings as we stood among the trees. He claimed that the creature regularly came onto his property to steal rabbits from his pens, and that he often heard it whistling and screaming in the woods surrounding his farm. His closest visual encounter with Bigfoot occurred when he was traveling in Canada and came within a few feet of a creature standing on a riverbank, but most of his other encounters took place while walking through the woods near his home, several near this cabin. Datus had become so accustomed to Bigfoot's behaviors and habits during his many experiences that he had developed techniques for spotting the creature, and here was the purpose of our visit. We stood near the dilapidated cabin as Datus instructed me to calm my breathing and be very quiet. We needed to be still for some time. If a Bigfoot is in the area, he instructed, it will become curious as to what encroaching humans are doing. It will stealthily follow the trespasser, staying far enough away as to avoid being seen. If a person walks around looking for Bigfoot, he will never see one, Datus told me. Should he see the person turn around, Bigfoot will stand completely still, its black fur and pointy head making it indistinguishable from the dark trees around it. Our best hope was to wait, immobile, in the hopes that a Sasquatch would become so curious as to our intentions that it would finally wander into our line of sight as it investigated. No such luck on this day. We sat and waited. And waited. Finally, Datus sighed and gave up. They must not be around today. We made our way back down to his van. A light rain had started as we were waiting for Bigfoot's appearance, making the downward climb treacherous and slippery. One flat tire, Datus had run over something while barreling through the woods, and a few geysers of mud through the floorboards later, we arrived back at his home. Come back again, Datus told me. Maybe next time. Over the next few years, I did return to see Datus, but he was never able to draw Bigfoot into view. Datus left a log of his encounters, and it is as follows. 1937, saw a full view of a Sasquatch standing 200 feet away at Observation Peak Trail in Skamania County, Washington. It is in the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest. 1963, saw in full view within 20 feet after it followed Perry from the south of Gifford Peak. 1974, saw the legs of a Sasquatch approximately 200 feet away. The dogs ran it into some brush a half-mile west of Perry's home in Carson, Skamania County, Washington, which sits along the Columbia River Gorge. 1976, Perry has a full face-to-face sighting from a canoe within 20 feet on Quesnel River in British Columbia. 1976-77, saw the body of a Sasquatch above Spring Creek Hatchery, sunning itself on some rocks. Spring Creek Hatchery, established in 1901, is located 4 miles west of Hood River and White Salmon Toll Bridge on State Highway 14. It was one of several egg collection stations for the Bureau of Commercial Fisheries near Portland, Oregon. 1977, saw a Sasquatch from the front about 1,000 feet away on the west side of St. Peter's Dome Rockslide on the Columbia River in Oregon. 1978, saw a Sasquatch standing 600 feet away east of Dog Creek Falls in some scrub oaks. Despite its comparatively modest size, Dog Creek Falls is one of the most visible waterfalls along the Washington side of the Columbia River Gorge. Dog Creek has cut itself an impressive canyon between Dog Mountain and Cook Hill. 1979, a river view near Grant Lake. The Sasquatch wore a musk ox hide on its back. Grant Lake is located in the Central Sierra Nevada range in California. 1981, a face-to-face viewing as the Sasquatch watched Perry cut wood and build a trail about a mile west of his home in Carson, Washington. 1982, a full sighting at Panther Creek Bridge in the evening. In the car headlights, its eyes appeared red. 1985, a face-to-face viewing of a female Sasquatch. In Perry's own words, she followed me over half a mile to my shelter and stayed behind a tree while I repaired the shelter. Then she came down close to the shelter and seemed to be telling me she was available as a mate. She was back a couple more times and left tracks and droppings. Datus Perry died in the late 1990s. His passion for Bigfoot never earning him more than a reputation as a crackpot in his community and the occasional footnote in Bigfoot history.